Long week. Driving back from Charlotte in one day.
It's a NASCAR, right?
NASCAR, yeah, it was pretty awesome. Ruckus and Wave event. Took the Tesla down there. Did 720 miles in one day, twice.
In one day, huh?
Yeah, 722 miles in Tesla. So no one say you can't do a road trip in an
You stop
EV.
every 100 miles? Is that what you did?
Every 100, something like that. 80 maybe sometimes. It depends on where the fast charges are,
Yeah.
and how tired I am. But
How long is each stop?
maybe like 10, 15 minutes. I'll charge like no deep charging, just like really light charging. Go
Yeah.
inside, use the bathroom, get some coffee, and take off again.
You take it back to 80%?
Yeah, maximum 80, but I'll go between like I like to go between 40 and 80, but on this trip I was going using the bottom half of the pack a lot, because it'll charge a little faster.
Yeah.
Going from like 20 to 60 or something like that, and then taking off. But one thing you don't want to happen is if you get to a hotel and they have a free charger, you don't want someone unplugging your Tesla, right? So,
Yeah.
so I found these Tesla J1772 adapter locks. So basically, if you're using like a public charger, someone could just come up and you're using the Tesla adapter. This is Tesla in particular because
This is not a Tesla charger, though.
it's not a Tesla charger. It's a public charger that has the J1772 handle, which you need
Which
to use
is like
an adapter.
a charge point. Right?
Yeah, like a charge point. Any public charger is going to have the J1772 connector. Then you have to use an adapter to plug it into the Tesla, right? The problem with that is anyone can just come along and push the lever on that charge handle and pull it out of the adapter, right? And put it in their car. But if you have this,
And they can take the adapter, too, right?
no, they
The
can't. They
adapter
can't
locks
take the
in place.
adapter. Adapter's locked in. That's okay. But they can stop you charging if you counted on that charge like overnight. You expect it to be full in the morning, and take off again. Somebody could just unplug you, right? So if you put this in, I 3D printed out. I got you one too, Brian. And
Nice.
if you 3D print them out, they can't push the button on the handle to release it. So the handle's locked into the adapter. So that's
Gotcha.
pretty good to have. I wouldn't use it all the time. You don't need to use it at home or anything, but like if you're out in the public and you want to make sure you get that charge, definitely use these things.
Cool.
Pretty cool. All right, so then first Wi-Fi thing I want to talk about is like, so I was talking to a customer that has like a large campus, like multi-tenancy situation where there's like 450 rooms, right? And instead of, so you could just set up an SSID for every single room, right? Like every student, room 100, 101 could be broadcasting all these SSIDs.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it.
That'd
But
be a crazy way to do it.
yeah, I mean that's what most people think they're going to do, but it causes problems, right? One, because they're all the beacons are actually using up airtime.
Yeah.
It could overload the devices because they're going to see like hundreds of networks. If you open up your iPhone, you'll see yours, but then 100 more.
Yep.
And then you're not going to be able, when you're in the public areas, you're not going to be able to roam. You have to connect to a secondary SSID for the public.
Yeah, so you would have like a specific room number, and
Yeah.
then you would have like lobby or classroom, whatever.
Yeah, so then you have to connect to all these other SSIDs and make sure that everything's working there, right? And someone has to maintain all those on the, the backside, right? So they have to set those all up and and change the passwords on them if a student leaves, and you have a PSK password on there, then it's going to have to change if a student or employee or whatever leaves, right? So what's the better way to do it? Like,
Yeah, so the better way is to have less SSIDs and have different pre-shared keys, or
my
let's say
personal pre-shared
WPA security logins, right?
Yeah.
Different security logins for different Wi-Fi users. So you'd use something like my PSK, where it's a personal pre-shared key
Yeah.
for every user, right? So that's the better way. And then you can have one or two SSIDs. You could even have like 3 SSIDs, I guess, if you wanted to. But yeah, you could have a single SSID, and that SSID can be broadcasted throughout the campus, for example, or throughout the building.
Yeah.
And that pre-shared key is, it's unique to you and me.
Mm-hmm.
I have my own, you have your own. and it can be also tied to a particular VLAN as well.
Yeah. So a dynamic
So
VLAN also can be tied to the pre-shared key
yeah,
account. Yeah.
yep, and you can set that up in like a Radius server or something like that. So my credentials are tied to this particular VLAN, and I'm tied to particular resources as well.
Yeah.
So I can kind of walk the campus and still have access to all my resources, and I can log into, I can roam from building to building or from floor to floor, be on the same SSID the whole time. But I have my unique passcode, and I'm also on my unique VLAN as well.
So if you had a printer in your room, you could be like, anywhere on campus and print something out to that printer. And when you're in your room, if you had like a Chromecast or something on your TV, then that's on the same VLAN too. Then you only see your Chromecast and not your neighbors.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's definitely, I think, the best way to do it. Now you can do this through the Ingenious Cloud Radius too, right? You can assign dynamic VLANs to that.
Yeah, it's not through like the Ingenious Radius. Like we have a Cloud Radius, and that's just a normal authentication type.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it through the Ingenious Cloud. You would have a custom radius set up on the back end.
Okay, so so you'd have to set up your own, which most schools would probably want to do. They'd want to maintain that.
They probably already have it in place.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. But I thought you could also do dynamic VLAN through the Ingenious Cloud Radius if you select that.
No, it's not just a simple drop-down box.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No, it's not. So, like, you can do my pre-shared key, so that will provide pre-shared keys,
right.
Unique pre-shared keys to everybody. So everybody has their own password, and you can set it to expire.
Yes.
As well. That you can do that within the current setup, and we provide that that configuration is pretty
right through
easy.
the cloud. Yeah.
But to take it a step further and tie it to like a VLAN with a radius, you have to put the parameters in for that radius server, and the radius server would be able to do that. But yeah, we can handle the work of the dynamic VLAN side. We'll work with a radius server that helps assign like the parameters for the user.
Yeah, that's a good solution for that. And I mean, even for apartment buildings and multi-tenancies, I still think that's better to have a single SSID and have a personal pre-shared key for everyone that's using it. That way it knows.
Even minimizing the number of SSIDs. I mean, there's some customers out there that use different SSIDs, but to minimize that, you want to minimize that as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so then another interesting thing, I was looking at a Network World article about product shortages, and like we're still seeing like product shortages, not so much with Ingenious, but with other vendors, Aruba and Cisco, still have like a huge backlog, and there's this thing called the golden screw where it could be one little piece that's in the power supply that basically is holding up the entire product, right? Like they could have all the high-end ASICs and CPU and memory and all that ready to go, but there's like a capacitor or like an integrated circuit that costs like 3 cents that's like holding up the entire product line, right?
Entire build, yeah.
Entire build.
Imagine what it takes to build like an access point or a switch, and the bill of materials to build that. It could be any one of those components in there that what you're saying is the golden screw is any of those components.
Yeah.
Any one of those components that could hold up the whole build for a switch or for an access point or for a gateway or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of what's happening out there, and it's not easing up for a lot of vendors, depending where their product's manufactured and whose factory and what country and all this. It's still like a big thing, and they could possibly, if they can't get that one piece, a lot of the vendors are having to redesign the product to use a different component maybe, and that has a lot of problems too, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you start changing components and things like that, that's where you may run into like a firmware issue.
Yeah.
Or like a physical issue, like a software problem or a physical problem, like say for example, it's the chip for the Ethernet port or something, and that chip, you've never used that chip before.
You don't know what kind of interactions it'll have with other products, right? Like
and it could, and you don't know, like it could fail, you don't know.
Yeah.
So anytime you change those components and you're not familiar with them or you're not testing them, normally you're going to test them, but yeah, that's a new failure point.
Yeah.
Or if you're using, something that, your firmware is written in a way that you have all these features, but if that one component could limit what you could do on that hardware piece, like an access point or a switch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just got to be, yeah, you got to be really careful. Not only that, then you also have to consider, certifications or approvals from upper management and things like that.
Yeah.
So, you make the change, you do your testing, you make the change, you go through the process of all the approvals and the certifications, you get it all done, it gets shipped, and then you identify a problem, like a failure point, a new failure point.
Yeah.
So it could, you could run into a lot of different things with that.
And costs involved with having to redesign, they could be way higher than just waiting it out, right? Like, I can see the manufacturers want to wait it out, but it's been like so long that the customers are, they can't wait any longer, or they won't wait any longer.
And the other issue is that normally in the shipping process, right? It's normally put on a boat and it's shipped, but now a lot of people you have to fly it in.
Yeah.
So there's higher cost in like the shipping of the hardware as well.
Yep.
So that's another point of like cost increase.
For sure. Right? But so far, Genius has been good. We've got 48 port PoEs and 24 ports. I got a bunch of them coming in for next week. So yeah, we don't have any shortages that I know about. Other vendors can't say that, but yeah. So if you need anything, let us know. All right, Brian. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that covered everything.
Partner Summit this week. When we go on Wednesday?
It's on Wednesday. Yeah.
On Wednesday. Okay. Is there room for anyone else to sign up, or are you full?
No, we want to keep it. Yeah, it's partner only.
It's partner only. All right, so we're not gonna put the link out there this week.
No.
All right, guys. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll be back for more help with Wi-Fi next week.